Nachi, hello. I am David Rhoderick. I was born in Massachusetts in America, and I'm here to tell you about what it's going to be like for you guys dealing with Americans all the time. So what I'm going to talk about are a couple things. I know you already have jobs probably lined up, but in case you need to find a second job, a lot of people do that on Work and Travel, or you need to talk to anybody who owns a business or anything like that. I'm going to tell you how to interact with people. Maybe it'll be your first time, maybe not. I'm going to talk to you about the American work ethic, because it's a little bit different than here. I'm going to talk to you about manners in America, which are very important for two reasons. One is you're going to get along with people a lot better if you're polite, and second of all, you might make more money. Tips, again, that's basically related, but you should know the whole culture of it because you don't really want to get anybody angry by forgetting. I'm going to talk to you about what Americans are like, at least from my experience. My parents live on Martha's Vineyard. I know a few of you will be going to Nantucket or the Cape, so it's very similar to there. Denver's probably similar as well. Some parts will be different, so try not to think that all Americans are going to be how I explain them. And what's so great about it, I'm really excited for you guys. Like, this Work and Travel, even as an American, changed my life, so you'll see. So the first part is how to get a job. So it's pretty important. You just go into an establishment, cafe, restaurant, whatever. You be confident. Don't worry about your English or anything. As long as you're polite, you'll be fine. Usually how I do it, I walk in, I say, "Hi, my name is David Rhoderick," shake the guy's hand or a woman's hand. I say, I'm looking for work, do you have any openings? And I make sure to have my CV, or resume as we call it. And any other documents you have, I know they just told you all these documents, make sure you have them. Because when you get there and you want to get the job, if you can say, "I can work today," that's a huge deal. That shows enthusiasm. You're not going to lose that job if you're already working there and you signed all the paperwork. The next part is the American work ethic. This I'm going to take a little bit more time on. So, hard work is paid well. A friend of mine who went on Work and Travel, they told me this phrase, and this is exactly how I would describe it. So, it kind of sounds silly, but there are benefits to working hard, right? So first of all, if you show your effort at the beginning, your boss is going to be very impressed. And that's great, because if your boss is impressed, he might give you more responsibility. If you have more responsibility, you might get paid more. If you aren't paid more, and you have more responsibility than you signed up for, do not be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, so-and-so, when I signed up, I was supposed to be a waiter, but now I'm bussing and waiting and hostessing or whatever. Can I please get a raise?" If you don't ask, they might not even realize that you feel upset. So just ask, don't be afraid. And if you're working too hard, don't worry, somebody will stop you. It's not going to be the case that you're going to work like crazy and everyone's going to be fine with it. Usually your coworkers will say, "Man, can you take it easy?" Or even your boss will say, "Please, just chill." That's great. You want to be in that position. You don't want to be in the position where people are like, "Could you work a little faster?" That's not going to be so good. And if you do this, if you work hard in America, every other job you have is probably going to be easier because we work really hard, especially the people you're going to be working with in the service industry, your colleagues, your co-workers, whether they're from America or especially if they're not, they're going to work really hard because they know they're going to get paid a lot of money. So manners is also very important to this whole working in the service industry. Why should you be polite? I know it's weird for you guys because you're probably used to saying, "Dai mi ovo," or "Retsu mi to." There's no, "Please, could you do this for me?" or "If you wouldn't mind." But in America, if you do that, you're going to be great. The things you need to know, 2 words and 3 or 4 phrases. First of all, use the word "please" as much as you can. That's great. Everyone loves that. Thank you, also great. Not as important, but just say thank you when you receive something. You're welcome, not as important, but everyone pays attention to these things over there. That's why I'm being very literal about everything. Sorry's a big one. Just say sorry for everything. I say "Izvini" all the time here, and everyone looks at me weird, but it's just how I come. So, if your English is really bad and you're having trouble communicating, just say you're sorry and immediately you'll be fine. Would you please, do you mind? Just put that at the beginning of questions, that's great. It smooths over everything. So I said, you know, if your English is bad, or let's say you're working with somebody and they really hate your guts. If you tell them, could you please pass me that bottle of water, they'll swallow all that anger and you'll be fine. So these kind of things are really great. Think of it as using V instead of T here, but do it more often. In America, everybody thinks the customer is right, so treat them like they're right. So if you make a mistake, and even if it was their fault, just say you were sorry, and it'll be better. The next section I'll explain how it makes everything better. And your bosses will tell you weird things like thank you every day. And this is just how we are raised. You just get used to it. You might have a normal work day. They'll just say thank you. So tipping, this is where all that politeness, manners, hard work comes into play. So if you're working in a service job, your income might only be tips. You're going to get a paycheck that says $0 or, you know, whatever. You're not going to get paid any money because all your money is going to be coming from tips. The average amount, which is important for you as an employee working for this money, and also when you're ordering food and stuff, you want to keep these numbers in mind. 15 to 20% is how much you want to tip. If you tip less than that, people are going to think they did a bad job. And when you get tipped less than that, you should know to change something about the way you work because, you know, people alongside you are going to be getting 20%, maybe even 25% if they do a great job. I had a story where I was at a restaurant and I had awful service. Like they just let me stand there for a while, and then when they sat us down, they served everyone else in the restaurant before us, and we decided, my friends and I, we weren't going to tip. And even after explaining what happened to us and how upset we were with the service, we just felt like nobody cared about us. The guy who ran the place still had the balls to say, why didn't you tip? And it's like, you don't want to run into that if you did think everything was fine. So you'll notice also that waiters will come by after you've received your food, and especially if your mouth is full, they'll ask you, is everything okay with your meal? And usually they're doing this because they want to know if there's something else they can do that results in a higher tip. So you can do that yourself. You'll notice people do it to you all the time. It's just about going out of your way and making them feel special. And if you do that, and you work hard, and you're polite, you can get crazy tips. I've heard stories of people getting $100 tips just for 2 people drinking in a bar, $400 for like a regular size table for regular service. You don't know who you're serving. You know, Americans don't dress up if they have a lot of money. They just wear whatever. So you never know who you're serving. Just kind of, if you're going to be working with customers, treat every customer as if they might give you $100 for half an hour of work. If you do that, even if you don't get the $100, the $400, you might be getting 25% on the regular, as opposed to 20 or 15. People you need to tax are also a little important. Make sure you do waiters, you tip your taxi drivers, you tip food delivery people. People making coffee, they usually have a jar, you can tip them. That's not so much a big deal, but just think, if you know that person's not making much money, give them a tip. If they're an interior designer and they design for Lady Gaga or something, he doesn't need a tip. But, you know, regular people do. So now this is a little more interesting, Americans. So Americans. Yes, we are overweight. The first time I came to Serbia, I was amazed. I thought you were all models. You're all gorgeous. You wear amazing clothes. This is pretty accurate, I would say, you know? And I challenge you not to gain any weight in America. It is almost impossible. I know so many people from Serbia, from all sorts of countries. As soon as they get there, it's 2 kilos, 5 kilos, 10 kilos. Don't worry about it. That's just normal. That's American food. That's how it is. Everything's cheaper. Like, I mean, when you're making good money, health insurance is not cheaper. But you will be able to spend at McDonald's easy, you know, everything. So just, we are overweight. We are also from everywhere. There's no like American prototype. We're all from everywhere. When I worked in a similar jobs to you guys, I worked alongside Serbians, Brazilians, I've worked with Mexicans, I've worked with everyone. Everyone is from everywhere. You're not just meeting Americans, you're meeting the whole world. So that's kind of cool. We smile on the street. This is really weird. There's no reason for this. They probably feel awful too. They just do that. They'll probably say hi to you too. That's a little bit weird. And they will come to you, so it's not abnormal to go to a bar alone in America. You can just do that. And if you do that, you might get approached by somebody. If you're not in the mood to deal with it, you just be polite, like I told you. Say, sorry, I'm waiting for a friend. Can you please leave me alone? Usually the bartender will stand up for you too, or whatever. But if you are open to this, you might have amazing experiences. You might meet, I know one time I sat in the bar alone and I met a guy who was a DJ. We went over to his place, we mixed for a while, it was very cool. We met once a Canadian millionaire who was just in New Orleans. You never know who you're gonna meet, and these people are friendly, and so that happens, yeah. We can be loud. I know you guys can be loud sometimes. Sometimes you have parties, but I know my girlfriend's always telling me, quiet down a little bit. So we talk very loud, that's just how we are. We're not trying to be disrespectful or hurt your ears. We follow the law. Even if no one's looking, most Americans follow the law. You'll probably meet some cool ones who don't. I know here it's a little bit flexible, like drinking outside is illegal, but but in America it is actually illegal. And if you get caught, it's a real hassle. You guys aren't citizens. It's going to be a little more tricky. So just follow the law. Think about it this way. You might be the only Serbian police officer or somebody meets. I have a story of a friend. She's a Serbian, she lives in America, and she heard a story of a couple people on Work&Travel who were working in a clothing store. And it was a very expensive clothing store, so they decided they were going to steal a bunch of clothes and share it around each other and sell them and everything. And it really didn't matter, as far as, she felt as if now when she says she's from Serbia, people are going to say, oh, those guys who stole those clothes, are you friends with them? Just think about it. When you're there, you're not representing yourself, you're representing everyone in this room, you're representing all your friends back home. An American who meets you doing something wrong, that's just not cool. I mean, we're not the most intelligent, nobody's the most intelligent people or whatever. We're just going to think Serbians are like that. So just think about it that way. You're going to meet people who will break the law, and it'll be lots of fun. But try to think about it that way. Also, just don't litter. It costs a lot of money. If a police officer catches you, you could pay $250 for littering, $500. It's like a week of work. Just don't do that. We are really not great drivers. We have really big roads. We don't have a Belgrade, really. I've seen the drivers there. They're incredible. This is different. And everyone's going to be on vacation. They're going to be driving like idiots. You're also going to see a lot of bicyclists who don't know what they're doing, a lot of people on mopeds, so just be careful, especially on the Cape. You're going to see that a lot. If you're driving a bicycle, just be careful around you, make sure you know where everyone is. But on a positive note, we're very open-minded people, especially one of the differences I find between Serbia and America is there's a lot of open-minded people. Novi Sad's a very special place, you have a lot of open-minded people. But you're going to be working and talking to people who live in a society where gay people are allowed to get married, marijuana is legal. Just kind of keep that all in mind, and if you can open your mind a little bit, I swear you'll have a better time there as well. Also marijuana, this is a very important thing. It's legal over there in a couple states. It's not legal in the country, so keep that in mind. It can still be a problem for you. But you can go into a store and you can buy it if you're over 18. I don't know if you guys can, maybe you need your passports. But just be careful, it's way stronger than you probably think. There are things you can eat that will mess up your day. So be careful, don't blow smoke into a police officer's face. You're representing Serbia. This is why I'm really excited for you guys. There are so many awesome things you guys are going to experience. So I've made friends from Work&Travel programs that have changed my life. I live in Serbia because of Work&Travel. So it is going to change your life. I know people in America who live there because of Work&Travel, whatever. So the great parts. First of all, you're going to meet people. I met my girlfriend on Work&Travel. She's over there. I live here because of her. I visited here a couple times. I actually really do like Serbia. I really like living here. I love you guys. I think you have an amazing culture. amazing food. Oh my God. But you're really great, and I would never have known that if it wasn't for Work and Travel. And I have friends that I've made 6 years ago that I still have friends today. And not just Serbians. I've met Americans through Work and Travel. I met people who were Serbians who were friends with other Americans, and then I became friends with them. And it's just this whole connection. You're going to meet so many cool people, and they might be your best friends for life. You're going to make a ton of money, too. You're going to make more money probably than you could imagine. There's a lot of money to be made in these places, in these jobs. I made a lot of money when I was working over the summers. So just keep that in mind. And keep in mind that money is temporary. I know people who made a ton of money, and they came back to Serbia and they spent it before the next summer, you don't need to spend that much money in Serbia, but they did. And so keep in mind that it is temporary, and take with you the work experience. In America, we do this funny thing with our CVs. I used to be a pool boy. I used to measure the water and dump chemicals in a pool, but I call it, I am a swimming pool technician. So I have a very special skill. So keep in mind that everything you do in America, and especially all of this customer service, customer interaction skills you're going to be learning, those are amazing to have, especially when you're talking about how you're going to know better English, you're polite, all of these skills are going to be usable throughout the rest of your life. If you want to get ahead, just every work experience is a good thing to take with you. You're going to be able to explore and travel. This is very cool. Within the States, there's plenty of stuff to see. If you're in Denver, that's great, but you can also, jet over to LA and stuff like that. It's a very big country over there, but you can still do it. You can see San Francisco. If you're on the East Coast, you got to see New York City. This picture on the right here is actually a cabin that Work and Travel friends and we decided to go on this trip. They wanted to see America, and I said, I'm definitely going with you guys. So we got a camper. We went from Las Vegas to the Grand Canyon. Then we went to Colorado, and then we went to Utah. And I knew somebody who had a cabin in the middle of nowhere, so it's good to have American friends. And we drove out to this cabin. We spent a couple days there. We made a huge bonfire. No one was around. It was fantastic. One of the best experiences of my life. I've also been to Jamaica with a Work and Travel friend. I mean, the possibilities are really crazy. You're going to notice that when you get back, you're going to want to travel more. That's what's really great. I mean, I know everybody would ask her, she's a Serbian girl, everyone would ask her, does she actually talk? Like, she's really shy. And then she went to America, and now she's going all over, even just Serbia. She's just traveling more than she ever has. And I know after I met Serbians and I went to Serbia, I can't wait to go. I'm going to Belgium next month. And I would never do that if I didn't meet Work and Travel people. You're going to practice your English, so maybe you'll sound a little bit like me at the end, hopefully a little bit better. You're going to become open-minded. This is very possible. I encourage you to kind of open your mind. You never know what kind of experiences you're going to have. And if you kind of live like you were living in Serbia, maybe you wouldn't experience them. So it's really great to sort of open your mind and to get out of your comfort zone. Make sure, if somebody asks you to do something that sounds kind of crazy and not like your kind of thing, just say yes. You might not be able to do this next year, or you might not be able to come back to America, and you might not be able to do it while you're still young, and you have all this time and energy, and you're going to have money to spend. So just push yourself out of your comfort zone. We had some Serbians who would go on Work and Travel, and I met them all because they were open-minded and they didn't mind hanging out with some weird Americans. But you might want to just stick with the Serbians. I mean, you can do it, but I assure you it will be a better experience if you get to know some strangers. And lastly, enjoy. Just enjoy the whole thing. You're young. I'm excited. My girlfriend's excited. We were talking. I was giving this presentation to her, and she was like, I want to go. So really enjoy it. You'll be doing us a favor. Thank you very much.